October 28, 1999. A windowless interrogation room in Colombia. Two men sit across a metal table. One is a detective who hasn't slept in 3 days. The other is a 42-year-old drifter in red plastic glasses, arrested 6 months earlier for attempting to rape a street child. 8 hours of questions, 8 hours of silence. Then the detective changes tactics. He stops asking and starts describing. A 6-year-old boy led into a cane field. Rope binding small hands. A knife. Razor blades placed between fingers to peel skin from living flesh. Screaming that lasted hours. The man's breathing quickens. His hands tremble. The detective continues without emotion. Another boy. Same details. Then another. 41 children found in a single mass grave, all tortured, all between ages 6 and 16. At hour 8, the man collapses forward, sobbing uncontrollably. Tears pour down his face. His whole body shakes. "I'm sorry," he chokes out. "I am a demon. What you found is nothing compared to what I actually did." His name is Luis Alfredo Garavito Cubillos. Between 1992 and 1999, he raped, tortured, and murdered 193 confirmed children across Colombia and Ecuador, over 300 by his own confession, possibly 400, 7 years, 54 cities, 11 disguises, 1 blue notebook filled with victim names. He is the most prolific child serial killer in recorded human history. They called him La Bestia, the Beast. This is how he hunted. 1990s Colombia, a country drowning in violence. 3 separate wars rage simultaneously. Government forces versus FARC guerrillas versus paramilitary death squads. Entire villages massacred overnight. Mass kidnappings, car bombs in city centers. 1.5 million people displaced. The highest internal refugee crisis in the Western Hemisphere. In this chaos, children become collateral damage. 39% live below poverty line. An estimated 35,000 minors trapped in sexual exploitation networks. Tens of thousands more work streets, selling cigarettes, chewing gum, lottery tickets, shining shoes for 500 pesos a day. Many sleep in cardboard boxes. Their families cannot feed them, so they survive alone. They are everywhere in Colombian cities, but they are invisible. Dirty faces, torn clothes, bare feet. Society looks through them like ghosts. When they disappear, nobody reports it. Parents assume they moved to another city for work. Police don't investigate street kids. There is no national missing persons database, no computerized records. Regional police departments don't communicate. A child vanishes in Pereira. Police in Cali have no idea. A body in Génova. Investigators in Bogotá never hear about it. Colombia has another serial killer active during this same period, Daniel Camargo Barbosa, the sadist of Chanquito, who raped and murdered over 150 girls in Colombia and Ecuador. He once boasted, "I rape virgin girls because they cry." Barbosa escaped from island prison Gorgona in 1984 on a homemade raft and continued killing in Ecuador until recapture. But Garavito will make Barbosa look like an amateur. Into this perfect storm, war, poverty, institutional collapse, invisible children, walks a drifter who has spent 5 years under psychiatric observation, hearing voices commanding him to kill. He carries a blue notebook. Inside, names of victims. He writes each one carefully. Then he kneels naked in his room, paces back and forth, beats his chest, and prays for their souls while reading Psalms. He believes he made a pact with the devil. His hunting season has begun. January 25th, 1957. Génova, Quindío Department, Colombia's coffee-growing heartland. A tin-roofed shack leaks rain onto dirt floors. Rosa Delia Cubillos, drug-addicted and neglectful, gives birth to her first son, Luis Alfredo Garavito Cubillos. 6 more boys will follow, 7 sons total in a house of horrors. Father Manuel Antonio Garavito is a violent alcoholic and serial womanizer. He beats Rosa Delia regularly, even during pregnancies, in front of all the children. The house echoes with screaming matches, breaking furniture, threats. One evening when Luis is 6 years old, Manuel comes home drunk and begins beating Rosa with a machete sheath. Little Luis steps between them. "Stop hurting Mama!" Manuel drags the boy outside, ties him to a tree, and whips him with the machete sheath until he loses consciousness. The other children watch from the window, too terrified to intervene. This becomes routine. The beatings are so severe that all 7 boys learn to hide when they hear their father's footsteps returning from work. I was unlucky to be in a family that spent time in quarrels, fights, and throwing words of large caliber, Garavito later recalls. But physical violence is only part of the nightmare. Between ages 6 and 7, 2 adult male neighbors begin sexually abusing Luis. The rapes continue for years. Nobody protects him, nobody intervenes, nobody reports it. Age 11, Luis starts killing animals, cats, dogs, chickens, a classic early warning sign ignored by everyone around him. School, he completes only 5 grades before dropping out. He has no friends. Other children bully him relentlessly. Age 16, Luis flees home. He becomes a nomadic street vendor, traveling town to town across Colombia, selling religious icons, prayer cards, and Catholic imagery. The irony will become horrifying later. His pattern: arrive in a town, find work, drink heavily, become aggressive with co-workers or landlords, wear out his welcome, move on, again and again. Dozens of towns, dozens of jobs, always drifting. Age 27, Garavito attempts suicide. He survives and is committed to a psychiatric facility for 33 days, placed on antipsychotic medications. He remains under psychiatric observation for 5 continuous years. During treatment, he reports hearing evil voices commanding him to commit acts of violence. He claims a higher being speaks to him, giving orders. Psychiatrists diagnose him with multiple conditions, but eventually release him back into society. 1984, Garavito leaves photographs of 2 sexually abused young boys with his sister, Graciela Zabala. She stores them in a box. Nobody contacts police. Late 1980s, Garavito begins carrying razor blades and lighters in his pockets. He purchases a blue notebook and starts writing strange entries. He develops obsessions with esoteric studies, astrology, tarot cards, Satanism, after a friend gives him an occult book. Every night, he reads the Book of Psalms, searching for an explanation for his deviance. He performs rituals, strips naked, paces his room, beats his chest, prays. By the early 1990s, investigators later estimate he has already sexually molested approximately 200 minors, but he has not killed yet. October 4th, 1992. That changes forever. October 4th, 1992. Jamundi, Valle del Cauca, southwestern Colombia. Luis Garavito, age 35, wakes up in a cheap hotel room. He drinks brandy for breakfast. The voices are louder today, commanding, insistent. He walks to a local shop and purchases synthetic rope and a butcher's knife. Then he heads to the market district where street children congregate. 13-year-old Juan Carlos sells lottery tickets near the town square. Light-skinned, green eyes, soft features. He resembles Luis at that age. The boy works alone, no adult supervision. Garavito approaches with a warm smile. "Hello, young man," You look like a hard worker. I need help transporting some supplies to a farm just outside town. 1,000 pesos for maybe an hour of your time. Interested?" Juan Carlos hesitates. 1,000 pesos is more than he makes in 2 full days of selling tickets. His family needs money. "Okay," he agrees. They walk together toward the railway tracks, away from populated areas. Garavito makes friendly conversation. "Do you go to school? What does your father do? Do you have brothers and sisters?" The boy relaxes. This stranger seems kind. When they reach dense vegetation near the tracks, Garavito's demeanor transforms instantly. He pulls out the rope and knife. "Don't scream, or I'll cut your throat right now." What happens next is unspeakable. Garavito binds Juan Carlos's hands with the nylon rope. He forces the boy to the ground. He drinks more brandy, half the bottle. Then he begins the torture, violent sexual assault, beating the boy's face until teeth shatter and fall from his mouth, cutting, burning. The attack lasts hours. Juan Carlos screams until his voice gives out. Finally, Garavito slits the boy's throat with such force he nearly decapitates him. When it's over, Garavito sits beside the body in silence, covered in blood. He begins crying. "What have I done? What have I done?" Then he walks back to town, cleans himself in a public restroom, and boards a bus to the next city. The next morning, railway workers discover Juan Carlos's mutilated remains. Local police file a report. Isolated homicide, probably gang-related. They have no suspects, no leads. The case goes cold immediately. Luis Garavito has discovered something terrifying about himself. After the initial horror passes, he feels satisfied. The voices quiet down. The urges fade. For a few weeks, he feels almost normal. But the urges always return, stronger each time. Within months, he kills again, then again. The intervals shorten, 1 per month, 2 per month, sometimes weekly. The beast is fully awake now, and he is insatiably hungry. Luis Garavito is a master of disguise. Terrified of the dark himself, a lingering childhood trauma, he hunts exclusively during daylight hours in public places. This should make him easy to catch. But he has a system. Over 7 years, he adopts at least 11 distinct personas. The Catholic priest, black cassock, white collar, crucifix. He approaches children outside churches after Sunday Mass, offering blessings and charitable work opportunities. Parents trust priests implicitly in devoutly Catholic Colombia. The school teacher, dressed professionally with glasses and briefcase. He visits schools claiming to represent the Ministry of Education, conducting surveys on child welfare. Administrators let him speak to students unsupervised. The disabled beggar, limping with a cane, shabby clothes, asking children to help him carry groceries or guide him home, capitalizes on Colombian culture's emphasis on helping the vulnerable. The farmer, straw hat, work clothes, machete on belt, offers boys jobs harvesting coffee, sugarcane, oranges. In rural Colombia, child agricultural labor is common and legal. The street vendor, his most frequent disguise, selling religious icons, candies, cigarettes, blends perfectly into market crowds where his victims work. The charity representative claims to work for fabricated organizations, Foundation for Street Children, Elderly Aid Society, carries fake credentials, gains access even to schools as a guest speaker on child safety. Tribilín, the clown. In the town of Trujillo, he adopts a clownish, bumbling personality. Children laugh at his jokes. Parents think he's harmless. Locals nickname him after the Disney character Goofy. Nobody suspects the friendly fool is a predator. The local politician uses the stolen identity of Bonifacio Morera Liscano multiple times, introduces himself as a municipal representative conducting census surveys. He also disguises as a monk, an elderly man, and variations on these themes. The only constant, his distinctive red plastic-framed eyeglasses. He never changes them. It will eventually help investigators connect cases across hundreds of miles. But Garavito's genius isn't just costumes, it's psychological manipulation. He studies each region before hunting, learns local customs, dialects, economic conditions. He targets specific victim types: boys aged 6 to 16, light-skinned, green or blue eyes, poor families. Boys who resemble him as a child. Psychologists later confirm he's killing his younger self repeatedly. His approach adapts to circumstances. In coffee regions, help me harvest beans, 300 pesos per basket. In sugarcane areas, carry these cane stalks to my truck, 500 pesos. Near markets, deliver this package across town, 200 pesos plus the bus fare. To drug-addicted street children, offers substances directly. To gambling-interested boys, proposes betting games they can easily win. The amounts are carefully calculated, slightly more than one day's legitimate street earnings, but not so much parents would immediately question where it came from. He wants boys who won't report the offer before leaving with him. Timing is equally precise. Approaches around 10 a.m. Not so early parents notice the child leaving. Not so late their absence at lunch raises alarms. The child doesn't return for dinner. Family assumes they're earning extra money elsewhere. By the next morning, the body is already dumped 20 kilometers away in another jurisdiction. One morning after Halloween, celebrated in Colombia as Children's Evening, Garavito approaches a boy at 6 a.m., offering to help find candies the child supposedly lost trick-or-treating the night before. The boy excitedly agrees. He never returns. Most hunting occurs on weekends when children flood market squares. Garavito blends into crowds, observes, selects victims, then makes his approach. Once a child agrees, he acts immediately. Let's go right now. The job won't wait. Prevents them from returning home to inform parents first. During walks to kill sites, Garavito employs another tactic. He encourages victims to talk about their personal lives, family problems, school troubles, hopes, and dreams. This serves two purposes: builds false trust and exhausts children emotionally and physically for easier control once they reach secluded locations. Some boys mention abuse at home. Garavito later claims he felt sympathy for one such victim. He tortured that child to death anyway. By the time they reach dense vegetation on hillsides outside town, Garavito's preferred kill zones, victims are tired, far from help, and trusting. Then the mask drops. The demon emerges. Garavito divides Colombia into sectors. He maps suitable killing sites mentally: hillsides with tall vegetation, sugarcane fields, coffee plantations, areas near cities, but isolated enough for prolonged torture. One victim per sector. This prevents patterns from emerging too obviously. Once he identifies a good location, he returns to it repeatedly over months or years. He never buries bodies, leaves them exposed. Decades later, he can still draw precise maps from memory, showing exact corpse locations. The ritual begins the same way every time. After the long walk, the child is exhausted. Garavito suddenly pulls out nylon rope and a knife. Get on the ground. If you scream, I'll kill you instantly. He binds their hands. Sometimes he ties them in ways that allow limited walking, They can move short distances, but cannot run or effectively fight back. This prolongs the torture. Garavito sits down and drinks half a bottle of aguardiente, cheap brandy, the roughest available. Every crime scene later shows empty bottles. Then he begins what he calls his pact with the devil. The torture lasts hours. Rape, violent anal penetration, sometimes occurring before death, sometimes after. Razor blade, flaying. Garavito places broken razor blades between his fingers and uses them to slowly peel skin from victims' buttocks while they scream. The flaying happens while children are fully conscious. Screwdriver stabbings, repeated puncture wounds to thighs, arms, buttocks. Some bodies show over 50 stab wounds. Burns. He uses lighters to burn genitals, faces, hands. Mutilation. He cuts off victims' genitals and places them in their mouths while they're still alive. Sometimes he removes their eyes. Disembowelment. In some cases, he cuts open their abdomens and pulls intestines out, continuing sexual assault while they're dying from evisceration. Impalement. Some victims are impaled on wooden stakes inserted through the anus and pushed until they exit the mouth. Decapitation. He attempts to fully or partially decapitate most victims. The knife he uses produces rough, tearing wounds, suggesting an old, serrated blade. In decomposed bodies, investigators find notches in the fourth cervical vertebra from repeated sawing motions. Throughout, Garavito masturbates over the dying children. He also bites them. Forensic odontology later matches his dental impressions to bite marks on multiple bodies. One survivor, yes, incredibly, there was one, later describes Garavito screaming at him, "Am I a sadist? Am I a sadist?" while holding a knife to his throat. The boy, John Ivan Sabagal, escapes when Garavito briefly falls asleep drunk. During one killing, Garavito falls asleep naked on top of a corpse with a lit cigarette in his hand. The cigarette ignites the dry field. Fire spreads rapidly. Garavito wakes to flames surrounding him. He flees, leaving behind burned cash, his eyeglass prescription, shorts, shoes, and a note with his sister Graciela Zabala's address. Investigators recover these items, but cannot initially connect them to a suspect. After murders, Garavito returns to cheap hotels or boarding houses. That night, he performs his ritual, strips completely naked, opens his blue notebook, writes the victim's name carefully, then kneels and paces his room while beating his chest and reading psalms aloud. He is praying for their souls. He also engages in tarot card readings and satanic studies, trying to understand his demonic possession. By 1997, his victim count exceeds 100 children, and still nobody has connected the cases. November 1997, Pereira, Risaralda Department, Western Colombia's coffee belt. A farmer walking his land smells decomposition. He follows the stench to a ravine. What he finds makes him vomit and runs screaming to the nearest police station. 25 bodies, all young boys, in various stages of decomposition. Emergency response teams arrive. Forensic investigators document the scene. The media descends. Within 48 hours, the story dominates national news. Mass grave of children discovered, satanic cult suspected. Local authorities immediately blame a satanic cult. This becomes the official theory because the alternative, that one person did this, seems impossible. The discovery forces Colombian government to create a national task force specifically investigating child murders. For the first time, regional police departments begin sharing information. February 1998. Génova, ironically, Garavito's hometown. Two naked boys, ages 11 and 13, found lying side by side on a hillside. Best friends, both from poor families, working as street fruit vendors. Their bodies are covered in bite marks, hands bound with nylon rope, throats slashed, genitals severed. The next day, investigators searching the area find a third body just meters away, in advanced decomposition. Similar wounds, same rope, same methodology, bloodstains everywhere, a serrated knife, empty brandy bottle, bottle of Vaseline lubricant. March 1998. Another site. Two more boys, ages 10 and 12, naked and posed side by side. The positioning disturbs investigators, almost theatrical, ritualistic. It looked like a satanic ritual, one police officer recalls, which triggered public panic about devil worship. But Detective Aldemar Duran of the National Task Force begins noticing patterns others miss. All victims are boys aged 6 to 16. All come from impoverished backgrounds. All worked streets, vendors, shoe shiners. All disappeared during daylight hours, usually around 10 a.m. All found on hillsides with dense vegetation 5 to 15 kilometers outside cities. All show signs of prolonged torture and sexual assault. All have slashed throats and severed genitals. All crime scenes contain empty brandy bottles. Many show identical bite marks. Regional newspapers publish sketches based on the few witness descriptions. Man in red glasses seen with missing boy. Priest-like figure offering work to children. Street vendor talking to victims before disappearances. By late 1999, 36 bodies have been recovered in Pereira alone, 41 total with confirmed torture. But investigators estimate there are many more undiscovered graves. Detective Duran's team creates a map of Colombia, plotting disappearances and body discoveries. The pattern is chilling, a trail winding through 54 cities across nearly every department in the country. Duran realizes they're hunting a traveling serial killer, someone moving constantly, changing appearance, selecting victims from society's most invisible population. 1993, Bogotá. 8 schoolboys disappear over 3 months. Henry Giovanni Garcia, Marco Aurelio Castaño, Juan David Cárdenas, Jaime Orlando Popayan, and 3 others never identified. Garavito later admits to cutting off some victims' toes in attempt to confuse tracking dogs. Early 1994, Cucuta. 10-year-old Carlos Alberto accepts an offer of candy and 200 pesos. His body is found on Alto de la Taza Hill 2 days later. February 4, 1994, Pereira. 13-year-old Jaime Andrés González plays in Plaza de Bolívar, the city's central square. Garavito approaches dressed as a farmer, offering work harvesting sugarcane. They walk to a field near a roadside cross. During the assault, something unexpected happens. Garavito experiences a psychotic episode. He begins screaming incoherently, talking to voices only he hears, crying. For a moment, it seems he might stop, might let the boy go. Instead, he completes the murder. Jaime's body is found the next morning, 1997-1998. Garavito crosses into Ecuador. In Santo Domingo and possibly other cities, he continues his killing spree. At least 4 victims, possibly as many as 22, are later attributed to him in Ecuador. At one point, Garavito scouts a girls' school, rare for him, as he almost exclusively targets boys. But before he can act, police conduct a random security sweep of the area. Spooked, Garavito flees back to Colombia. 2 bodies are later discovered near that school. One is a girl, Garavito's only known female victim. The murder method matches his signature: prolonged torture, decapitation, body left exposed. Years later, in 2011 and again in 2016, Ecuadorian authorities formally request Garavito's extradition to stand trial for these murders. Colombia's Supreme Court denies both requests, ruling that extraditing someone already serving time for the same types of crimes would violate double jeopardy protections. Ecuador's victims remain without justice. By 1999, Garavito has operated for 7 years, murdered in 54 cities, crossed international borders, adopted 11 disguises, filled his blue notebook with nearly 200 names, and then, finally, he makes a mistake. April 22, 1999, Villavicencio, Meta Department, Eastern Colombia, population 400,000, 2:30 p.m. A homeless man named Milton is searching for recyclable materials in bushes near Calle 15. He hears muffled crying. Pushing through vegetation, he sees an adult man on top of a young boy, attempting rape. Milton yells. The man looks up, startled, then flees. The boy, terrified and injured, runs in the opposite direction. Milton alerts nearby taxi drivers. They begin searching the area. Within an hour, they spot a man matching the description, middle-aged, red plastic glasses, carrying a briefcase. The taxi drivers surround him. Police are coming. Don't move. Garavito remains calm. Too calm. I'm Bonifacio Morera Liscano, a municipal politician. I was conducting surveys in the area. This is a misunderstanding. Police arrive. They ask for identification. Garavito has none but recites a politician's ID number from a small town. Officer, where are you headed? Garavito, Santa Rosa. Officer, Santa Rosa is west. You're walking east. Garavito pauses, confused. No, I'm sure Santa Rosa is this direction. He's disoriented, drunk, perhaps, or psychologically unraveling, and his description matches the assault victim's account. They arrest him under the name Bonifacio Morera Liscano. At the station, they attempt routine fingerprint identification, but Colombia's system is fragmented, no national database, no computerized network. They cannot verify his identity. Garavito is placed in a holding cell on attempted sexual assault charges. He says nothing, requests no lawyer, just sits silently behind red plastic glasses. Weeks pass. March 1999. A detective checks phone numbers found in Garavito's clothing. One number belongs to Graciela Zabala, a woman in Quindío. Police visit her. Do you know this man? They show a photo. That's my brother, Luis Alfredo Garavito, she replies. Her brother? Not Bonifacio Morera Liscano? Detective Duran pulls Garavito's name through the task force database. He's already on the suspect list, flagged from the 1998 field fire incident where Garavito's eyeglass prescription and personal items were found. Duran contacts Graciela again. Your brother left items with you. We need them. She retrieves a box. Inside, cut-out passport photos of dozens of boys, all dead, though Graciela doesn't know it. A calendar with cryptic codes and dates. Handwritten notes referencing towns, names, locations, maps with X markings. Duran cross-references the dates with known disappearances. Perfect matches. The calendar is a kill log. The photos are victim trophies, the only ones Garavito keeps. They have him, but he still won't talk. 6 months in custody. Nothing, just silence and red glasses. Then comes October 28, 1999. Detective Aldemar Duran's 8-hour interrogation. October 28, 1999. The interrogation that opens this story. Detective Aldemar Duran sits across from Luis Garavito. On the table, photos of 41 dead children from Pereira graves, maps, calendar, victim trophies. Duran, Luis, we know everything. We have your maps, your photos, your calendar. We've connected you to over 100 disappearances across Colombia. We've found the graves. Talk to me. Garavito. Silence. Hour 2. Duran changes approach. He stops asking questions. He starts describing. Victim 1, 6 years old. You met him in Pereira selling oranges. You told him you'd pay him to help carry fruit to your truck. You walked him to a ravine 3 kilometers outside town. You tied his hands. You drank brandy. Then you raped him. You stabbed him 23 times. You cut his throat. You left him with an empty bottle. Garavito stares at the table. Hour 3. Another victim. Explicit details. Then another. Hour 4. Garavito's hands begin trembling. Hour 5. Duran describes the Génova victims, the 2 best friends, ages 11 and 13, found side by side. He details the bite marks, the severed genitals, the Vaseline bottle. Garavito's breathing becomes rapid, shallow. Hour 6. Duran doesn't stop. Every confirmed victim, every torture method, every crime scene detail. Hour 7. Garavito's eyes fill with tears. Hour 8. Duran leans forward. Luis, we found 41 children in Pereira alone. They were tortured for hours, raped, mutilated, decapitated. Their families waited for them to come home. They never did, because you killed them. Garavito collapses forward, sobbing uncontrollably. His whole body shakes. Tears stream down his face behind the red glasses. I'm sorry, he chokes out between sobs. I'm sorry to the authorities. I'm sorry to the world. Duran, tell me what you did. Garavito, I am a demon. What you found, it's nothing. Nothing compared to what I've actually done. The floodgates open. Over the next 6 hours, Garavito confesses to murdering at least 140 boys, then 172, then 193. He claims the real number exceeds 300, possibly reaching 400. He draws maps from memory, precise, detailed, accurate. Investigators follow them and find body after body exactly where he indicated. His photographic recall is terrifying. Despite claiming alcoholic blackouts during killings, he remembers every victim's name, face, location, date. The blue notebook contains nearly 200 names. He wrote them all after murdering each child, then prayed for their souls. He describes his pact with the devil, his satanic rituals, his voices. He admits targeting boys who resembled himself as an abused child. He requests forgiveness from God and humanity. But when asked if he feels genuine remorse, he cannot answer. He mentions feeling sympathy for one victim who described family abuse. Yet he tortured that child to death anyway. The confession makes international headlines. World's worst serial killer arrested in Colombia, 193 plus child victims. Luis Alfredo Garavito Cubillos, La Bestia, the Beast, is officially the most prolific child serial killer in recorded history. Garavito is charged in 172 cases. He is found guilty in 138 of them. The sentences total 853 years and 9 days, the longest prison sentence in Colombian history. But Colombian law has a cap, maximum 40 years imprisonment, later reduced to 30. Worse, because Garavito cooperated by leading investigators to graves, his sentence is reduced further to 22 years. Effective sentence, 22 years for murdering 193 confirmed children. Garavito never faces trial. Colombian law allows conviction based solely on confession plus corroborating evidence. He never sees a courtroom. Colombia has no death penalty, no life sentences. He will be eligible for parole after serving 2/3 of his term. The announcement triggers national outrage. National Police Chief General Rosso Jose Serrano calls for an exception, bring back death penalty just for Garavito. Citizens protest outside courts. Victims' families are devastated. Garavito is transferred to Valledupar maximum security prison. He's placed in solitary isolation. Prison officials fear inmates will kill him on sight. Child killers don't survive general population. He becomes paranoid about poisoning, only accepting food and drinks from a few trusted guards. 2006. Television host Piri interviews Garavito for a special that airs June 11th. During filming, Garavito minimizes his crimes and announces plans to start a political career upon release to help abused children. Public fury explodes. 2016. Spanish journalist John Sistiaga interviews Garavito, who now expresses remorse. Sistiaga confronts him. For killing 200 children, the sentence is very light. Garavito agrees. Yes, for what I did, it's very little. 2021. Garavito applies for early release based on good behavior. He's served 22 years. Under Colombian law, he's eligible. National outrage again. Protests. Petitions with hundreds of thousands of signatures. INPEC director makes unprecedented public announcement. Garavito will not be released under any circumstances. The application is denied. He still owes $41,500 in victim restitution to families. He has paid nothing. 27 of his victims remain unidentified to this day. Unknown child marked on their graves. In 2011 and 2016, Ecuador renews extradition requests, both denied by Colombia's Supreme Court. Justice for 193 families never arrives. What creates a monster like Luis Garavito? Forensic psychologists conduct extensive evaluations. Diagnosis: antisocial personality disorder, pedophilic disorder, sadistic personality disorder, possible schizotypal features. Key traits: zero empathy, master manipulator, complete disregard for human life, sexual sadism, megalomania. He was a psychopath without doubt, confirms forensic biologist Dr. Mark Benecca after interviewing Garavito. His ability to charm children while torturing them shows terrifying absence of empathy, amplified by alcoholism. The cycle of abuse is evident: beaten severely by father, raped by neighbors as child, bullied at school. Classic trauma background for violent offenders. But millions suffer childhood abuse without becoming killers. Garavito made choices. He selected victims resembling himself, light-skinned boys with green or blue eyes. Psychologists interpret this as killing his own traumatized child self repeatedly. His rituals reveal delusional thinking, writing victim names in his notebook, praying nude while beating his chest, reading psalms to justify murders, claiming pacts with the devil, and commands from higher beings. Yet he was functional enough to maintain disguises, travel extensively, evade capture for 7 years. He never shows genuine remorse. His tears during Duran's interrogation were self-pity. Garavito remains, by his own admission, a demon. October 12, 2023. Luis Alfredo Garavito dies at age 66 in Clínica Nuevo Santo Tomás del Caribe, Valledupar, Colombia. Cause: leukemia and cancer. He'd been ill for months. Death comes just days before another scheduled parole hearing. No family claims the body, no funeral, no mourners. Colombian media announces, "The beast is dead." Victims' families react with mixed emotions. Some feel relief, others feel cheated. He died peacefully in a hospital bed while their children died screaming in agony. He got mercy he never gave, one mother states. 172 officially documented victims, 138 guilty verdicts, 193 confirmed by investigators, over 300 by his confession, possibly 400. 27 children still unidentified, buried in unmarked graves labeled unknown child. The story of Luis Garavito is ultimately a story of systemic failures. The failure of society to protect its most vulnerable. The failure of family to stop an abused child from becoming a monster. the failure of mental health systems to prevent a diagnosed patient from hunting, the failure of police to communicate across regions, the failure of justice to appropriately punish one of history's most brutal criminals. But above all, it is a story about 193 confirmed victims, about hundreds of children whose lives were stolen, about families who never received justice. Juan Carlos, 13, who wanted to earn money for his family. Carlos Alberto, 10, who loved candy. Jaime Andrés González, 13, from Plaza de Bolívar. Henry Giovanni Garcia, Marco Aurelio Castaño, Juan David Cárdenas, Jaime Orlando Popayán, and 186 others, most of whom we will never know by name. Street children, shoe shiners, fruit sellers, boys with green eyes and soft faces, invisible to society until they were gone. La Bestia is dead. The beast can kill no more, but the pain he inflicted will echo forever.